again to the 102nd annual meeting for Farmers Co-op at Alva, and we're certainly glad to have you with us this evening. I'll be turning this over to Randy here in a minute. I've got some guests that I would like to welcome as well and introduce all of you to. We certainly appreciate these people that I'm going to introduce. They're business partners with us. We enjoy a good relationship with most of them, and I'll pick out the ones that we don't, and I'll let you know who that is coming up. But we certainly appreciate these guys. I want to introduce Tobias Carson with CoBank. CoBank's a major part of our business, as you can imagine, with banking going on. And we went to an annual meeting of theirs this last week and enjoyed a good year from CoBank, and they paid some good patronage, so that helps the co-op. Just let him wait. We'll introduce him later, but Todd Fluhoff with Lindbergh Vogel. Glad to have Todd every year. He always does a good job with presenting the report to you, the financial report. We've got Triangle Insurance is a really good partner of ours. They come in and do a lot of work for us. They do our SCAMP, which is our safety compliance program. They do our HR program or help us with it, and they sell us insurance. And we happen to have three of them that represent all three of those areas here tonight. Clay Greeby is a salesman. We've got Zach Easter is our SCAMP guy. He does our safety compliance. You may see him in the office once in a while, picking away at a computer. And then Brenda Roger is new with them. We're certainly glad. This is her first annual meeting while she's with Triangle, so we want to welcome her as well. We've got Mary Ann Martin with us today. We appreciate the Alva Review Courier and the Alva paper for supporting us in the way that they do. They come along and film this for us and take pictures and give us a write-up in the paper every year. It's some good publicity, and we certainly thank Mary Ann for being here and carry on an old family tradition that Lynn started a few years ago by coming up and doing it. We sure thank you for that, Mary Ann. We've got Derek Heaton with Bank Central here. He's bashful. He just raised his hand right there in the big brown hat. So if you didn't see him, he's okay. We've got Kurt Burgess, General Manager at Manchester, with his wife that's here, Ann, in the re-read. Troy Regal with CEA, and we'll talk about CEA in a little bit and what they do for us. And we've also got in here as a special guest. Normally I save him for our employee group, but Donovan Nichols is here tonight. Where is he? He hauls our fuel for us, does all of that, and we're certainly glad to have he and his wife here tonight with us. Donovan, thank you for coming. Is there anybody that I've missed? No?
Your wife.
Oh, there's one other one that's a very special guest. My wife, Janet, is here. Thank you, Melody, for saving me.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll have a proof of notice of meeting and declaration of a quorum.
Yes, Randy, we mailed out notices to everyone, and if you know of anybody that didn't get a notice, let us know, because they should have. We also have a quorum here.
Okay, at this time, I will ask for a show of ballots to approve the minutes of the last meeting as mailed. All opposed? Okay, motion carried. At this time, I will introduce Todd Fluhoff, our CPA. He'll give the audit report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I could direct your attention to the financial statements you should have received when you checked in this evening. Inside, you should find a balance sheet and an income statement. Since the results of operations directly affect financial position, I like to go over the statement of operations first, which is on the right-hand side, and then we'll come back to the balance sheet, which is on the left-hand side. Statement of operations is a profit and loss statement. It starts out with sales. And this year, grain sales were $6 million, just over $6 million. As you can see, that's down considerably from a year ago due to the very small harvest in your area. Since you're a member of the Marketing Alliance, your grain cost of sales equals your grain sales. And what that's telling you is your co-op buys the grain from you members, and they turn it around and they sell it to the Marketing Alliance at cost. And then you participate in the earnings from the Marketing Alliance, which is down here in the other operating income section. The supply sales were $8.5 million, down $432,000, again, due to decreased volume. The supply sales, cost of sales, what they cost you was $7.2 million, giving you a $1.3 million gross margin on your sales. The next section of the statement of operations is the other operating income section. This is where your cooperative accounts for grain marketing alliance income, along with any service income, financing income, and the other miscellaneous revenues it may receive throughout the year. Your other operating income totaled $2.3 million, down $978,000 from a year ago. And if you're looking in that area, that first section where it says related party, all those items underneath there, that's the income from the grain marketing alliance. With the smaller harvest, that income was down about $900,000, so that's the reason for the decrease in this area. Adding your gross margins to your other operating income will give you a gross income from local operations of $3,600,000. Then you need to take into account your expenses. First, the personnel costs. These are the costs for your employees. Not only the salaries and wages they're paid, but any payroll taxes or other benefits paid on their behalf is in that number. Fixed expenses consist of interest, insurance, property taxes, and depreciation. And the other operating expenses of the items won't fit either of the above two categories, such as your repairs, supplies, and utilities. Expenses total $4 million. That's down over $340,000 from a year ago. Again, the decrease would be attributed to the smaller volumes. Deducting your expenses from your local gross income will give you a loss from local operations of $460,000. Then you need to take into account your other earnings. The gain on sale of property, plant, and equipment, that amount can vary from year to year. It just depends on what you either traded or sold and whether or not it had book value. The investment income represents income or losses from the joint ventures that your association is invested in. The dividends on stock was received on some preferred stock that your association owns in CHS. And then the patronage dividends is patronage income that's allocated to you from the various regional and area cooperatives. Your earnings totaled $287,000, down $112,000 from a year ago, mainly due to less income allocated to your cooperative from the regional cooperatives. Reducing the local loss by the other earnings will give you a pre-tax loss of $173,000. Then you take into account the benefits associated with that tax loss, giving you then a net bottom line loss of $152,707, all of which is being credited to the general reserve. Questions on your statement of operations or anything I said thus far? Hearing none, we'll move over to the balance sheet. The balance sheet tells the financial condition of your cooperative at any given point in time. This has to be as of the close of business for the calendar year ending in 2018 with comparative information for 2017. The first section of the balance sheet is the assets section. An asset is something that you own. A current asset is one that's cash. We expect to be converted to cash within the next 1 year. Current assets total $4,166,000, down about $700,000 from a year ago. And looking down this section, the biggest mover is right about in the middle. It says related party receivables. That's at $936,000. It's down over $700,000 from a year ago. That related party receivable, what that is that's money due from the Grain Marketing Alliance. So with the grain volumes being down, it makes sense that receivable would be down. Investments consist of corporate stock and equity that your association owns in various area and regional cooperatives such as CoBank, CHS, and Land O'Lakes. And then the limited liability companies represents the investments your association has in the various joint ventures such as the Marketing Alliance, Northwest Investments. Your investments totaled $6 million, fairly comparable to a year ago. After taking your allowance for depreciation for this year, you have $2,279,000 worth of book value remaining in your buildings and equipment. Then you have some other long-term assets totaling $151,000, which are down with current maturities. You add together all your asset classification subtotals, you come up with your total assets as of the balance sheet date of $12,640,000. The other half of the balance sheet is the liabilities and equity half. A liability is something you owe someone else. The current liability is one that's due and payable within the next 1 year. They total $2,743,000, down about $400,000 from a year ago. And again, if you're looking at this area, the biggest decreases are right down at the bottom, where patronage, dividends, and income taxes payable are zero. That's because we had a loss this year. Long-term liabilities, once due and payable January 1st, 2020 or after, they total $2,489,000, down with current maturities. Then the final section of the balance sheet is the equity section. This is where your cooperative accounts, where you members have invested in your association and the various forms of capital stock and allocated equities, along with any after-tax non-member earnings accumulated up to the balance sheet date. The equities totaled $7,406,000, or about 59% of the assets are funded by you members in the form of long-term members' equity. You add together your equity and liabilities and equity classification subtotals, you come up with your balancing figure of $12,640,000. Questions on your balance sheet, or any questions I can answer for anyone this evening?
On the operating statement, how come grain storage is more this year than it was last year?
Question was on the operating statement, why is grain storage more this year than it was last year? No, you were CEA full year, both years, right? There's a little difference between EMA, which is Equity Marketing Alliance, and CEA. If I tell you this wrong, help me out. Merged, and anyhow, it was a full year this year under CEA, where it was a part year CEA, a part year EMA last year. CEA pays on all the grain in your house, where EMA paid storage on the patron grain in your house, if I remember right. So it's basically, there's a little shift between how they're handled. Some of them, one paid the handling, the other pays storage. So it's kind of a cutoff problem between how the two marketing alliances.
And we had more grain in our storage last year.
And Ronnie's telling me you also had more grain in storage last year than you did the year before. So there was more carryover grain by your patrons, evidently.
You might tell him, we take in grain from other co-ops that can't handle their fall crops. So EMA or CEA will ship grain to us. It's not our grain, it's still their grain, but we get the storage off of it. We condition the grain, make it better, we take in grain, ground piles, stuff like that. So that's why the storage would be more even on a down harvest.
Any others?
Great question. Thank you.
If not, I'll turn it back to the chairman.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept the financial report.
Lonnie? Lonnie did.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, show of voter cards, please. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn this mic over to Ronnie to give the manager's report.
Thank you, Randy. Well, again, I want to welcome you to this 101st meeting of the annual meeting of Farmers Co-op Association. You know, for the last couple of years, we've looked at the rich history that we have at Farmers Co-op at Alva, and we looked at it as we entered the second century of our existence. We're glad to have that longevity. We've been awed by the vision of our founders of this co-op and the continued vision of the leadership as we turn into the second century is awesome as well. We started 2018 with the euphoria of the past history, celebrating our 100th year in 2017. and also the success of 2017 that we had financially. And of course, being human, our memories retrieve the good times usually. The profitable fruits of our labor is what we tend to remember. Then 2018 comes along, and not successful financially, not successful from a yield standpoint for the wheat crop of our members, and it's very dependent. Our co-op depends on it as well to have good years. So the wheat harvest of 2018 resulted in the lowest total bushel wheat crop that we've ever handled at Farmers Co-op in a percent to our storage capacity. I can recall several producers last year make the comment that they wished 2018 would hurry up and end, and I concurred with them usually when I heard that. But maybe 2018 was similar to a bad dream you can just not wake up from, so it'll end. It just seemed to carry on once there. But years like 2018 make you look back in history for some reason. We always want to look back and compare it to something that we've had in the past. And maybe we want to confirm that there are droughts in other years that we've had in the past, that there are other freezes that have impacted our business as we look back, and impacted the bushels that we handled by this cooperative. Maybe to be assured that fertilizer sales were impacted similar to our 2018 experience. We just want something to make us feel like we didn't do something last year wrong. And we look back in history to look for those experiences. And maybe we need to remember that droughts and freeze also are hard on our members as well as the co-op. But yet, history tells us that we have, and more than once, suffered through hard times and lived to tell about it. Seems like we make it through, but we're always able to look back and say, yeah, I can remember when we had those hard times, and we have stories, and we have the memories of why it happened. And I've been dreading this financial report for quite some time now, to come up and to have a loss like we did last year. And you always look back and say, is there something else we could have done? And when we hear the auditor say, yeah, it's impacted by the shorter crop that we had, and we certainly believe that it is. That's been a lot of it. But while compiling this information for this report, I was reminded that we are a cooperative and an ag business, and the weather has always had a say in our successes and our losses. My job tonight is to let you know that we do not accept a loss in 1 year to be a failure. We look at the $908,000 difference in our grain margin storage and handling of a 500,000 bushel wheat crop in 28 versus a over 2 million bushel wheat crop in 2017. We look at the $74,000 difference in the fertilizer sales and application margins in 2018 versus 2017. We look at the $432,000 difference in margins of chemicals, fuels, tires, and hardware from 2018 versus 2017. We also look at being able to reduce personnel costs by $275,000 and operating expenses by $147,000 to help keep the loss from being larger than it was. We look at being able to retain a core group of important employees that will allow us to hopefully take advantage of the moisture that we've been able to enjoy the last 8 or 9 months. We know that the years after a drought usually are followed by good yields for our crops, which lead to good financial years. We hope and plan that 2019 fits that pattern. We know that we're looking forward to taking advantage of the opportunities the weather has been providing and the wheat crop that seems to be responding to the moisture. And I'm optimistic about the first quarter of 2019 so far, and we're quickly bringing that quarter to a close here. So we've got a lot of things that have affected us, but we have a lot of things that we've been able to interact and affect from the opposite side. And I'd like to mention CEA a little bit. Troy Regal, if I misspeak here, and I'm going to quote Woody, I say Woody, I guess that's not right in a meeting like this, is to nickname him. Alan Woodard is the CEO of CEA, Comark Equity Alliance, our grain partners. And they just had their annual meeting last week, and Randy and I got to go down for that. And Alan also visited with our board. We normally have one meeting a year at Buffalo, use the boardroom over there and get to inspect the facilities. And Alan was able to meet us for that meeting. And so we have had some real good conversation with Alan lately. But last week at the CEA meeting, he said that CEA handled over 5 million bushels of wheat in 2018. 55 million bushels of wheat, over 55 million bushels of wheat. From a little co-op like this, it's hard to get used to the double-digit numbers like that. So I don't even know when I'm in the right town sometimes, do I, Jim? We handled over 55 million bushels of wheat. And then with the corn, milo, and soybeans also handled, the total was over 97 million bushels of grain that CEA was able to handle last year. When Alan was at our board meeting with us, he mentioned that CEA was down 40% on last year's wheat harvest, and that the profits were going to be equally down as much. But CEA was able to maintain a profit and had a profitable year. And even when we don't have a good year around here on the grain we handle, we get to participate in the profits of the grain that CEA was able to get. So they've been a good partner. It doesn't mean it brought us out of the hole, but definitely it works better than being by ourselves. And we know at Alvin we must handle a good crop on a consistent basis to be profitably every year. We look for this 2019 harvest to definitely be one of those better years. With CEA and last year, one of the things that we saw different was the protein premiums. We started writing the protein of each load that we handle on the grain tickets. We are looking at the opportunity, and did this last year, to pay protein premiums to all of our producers that are able to get that. And the difference is that each year is different from a protein standpoint. Moisture seems to affect the protein. The amount of fertilizer that we put out affects the protein. So there's a lot of variables that affect it. And protein is one of those premiums that some years it's good and some years it isn't. Most of the years we never notice it in this part of the country because there's not a demand worldwide for protein because everybody else has decent protein. So just having good protein doesn't mean that you're going to get a premium. It just means that in years like that we can see good protein go unrewarded because everybody else has it. Years like we saw last year where we didn't have much protein, most of that being that we didn't have much of a crop. When you don't have a crop, you have drought, we tend to have better protein. If you've got that for sale and the rest of the country is needing it, the premiums can be, that are offered can be very meaningful to producers. When it's not there, they're not real meaningful. So every year is a little different from a protein standpoint. We want to be sure that we're able to keep all of the premiums for grain that are available to our producers in the the grain marketing experience, that if they're able to capture it, we're able to pay it. And there's value in having clean grain, low dockage, well cared for wheat that's got good protein. That's from fertilizer, that's from taking care of the crop in and year out, because you never know when we're going to have a shortage in the rest of the world. So being able to produce that every year is the way that you're able to capture premiums. We want to look back a little bit at the vision of our leadership and the great employees that give us the opportunity to be successful financially year in and year out. We can absorb a loss like 2018 because vision of the years past led to strengthening the balance sheet that Todd alluded to, and being able to increase our retained earnings, which help us in years like this. Tobias continues to look at our balance sheet and say you need to increase this area or that. And this is one that we've been strengthening over the years. When we have a $300,000 or $400,000 loss, he doesn't get real excited because we've got a good balance sheet. And if we did that 3 or 4 years, he might change his tune a little bit, but we don't plan on that happening. So that's one of the things that our leadership has given us from the past with the board that we've had, the vision that they've had. And also we have employees that do the hard task of cutting costs when we have years like that, making us more efficient. And we look for that to continue in 2019. And right now I'd like to take a moment and introduce our managers. If you would, I'll just let you, they kind of get a frown on their face when I ask them to come up here and line up. They feel like they're being cattle in front of an auction or something, I guess. So we're going to let them sit at their seat, and I'm going to ask them to stand as their name's called, and then introduce their employees that are here or any that they'd like to mention as we go through. And I'm going to get, because she always dreads it, I won't wait till last. I'll let Charlotte go first tonight. She's our office manager, and she'll introduce her staff for us. Speak loud, please. We appreciate those ladies for what they do. The board appreciates what they do. We had a board meeting today. Charlotte took off, ran some errands, and we had a question for her, and we were lost till she was able to get back and get us back on track and answer questions for us. So we all depend on her a lot. Miles Peterson is our production manager. He takes care of all the grain elevators and does a good job in keeping them up. And I'd like him to introduce his employees that are here.
23 of my guys out of 4 are over there. Preston Lowe, he's the newest one.
Raise your hand, Preston. Stand up.
He's a new guy, you'll kind of see him everywhere.
Brock Martin.
You'll see him anywhere, and then there's Brady Andy, you'll see him in Elevator A.
And Brady runs Elevator A for him. So we certainly are proud of these guys, and there's a couple more that aren't here that make a lot of difference. It's hard to find people in the grain industry that are experienced enough to do the job that we need done. And I think Troy will tell you that these guys, along with Miles, have really made a difference in the way that we're looked at by the rest of CEA and the industry for the job that they do. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for that. We've got, I'm going to do these two together, Merle Ridgway and Matt Campbell. Merle Ridgway is the agronomy manager, Matt Campbell the sales manager, and they share employees pretty much. And I'll let them tag team on introducing employees. Glenn Donnelly.
He's an application operator, and then Gavin McGurk is standing, we sent him a guy, he's the other special application we have out here.
Okay.
And we got Rick Rose here, he's our salesman, outside sales.
what else does he do?
He also helps on a floater and drive truck and anywhere we need.
Okay, all right, good deal. All right, thank you guys. These guys, this last week, we had nearly a whole week of pretty weather, Matt, and we got a lot of acres covered in this last week at Buffalo and Alva both. So we're pretty well caught up at the end of the rain, or at the end of the week. We've had another rain, so we're ready to start again. If you've got any orders, just see one of them and turn them in. So thank you all. Adam Kelly is the manager of our farm supply hardware store here in Alva, and they do a tremendous job. How many of you have seen Adam on Facebook? Raise your hands. Okay, several in here. He's been doing a good job. Stay up there, Adam. They have been doing some advertising on Facebook to be able to show some of the things that we do at the hardware store. And Adam has given some demonstrations on how to do different things, from working on a toilet to planting potatoes. You name it, he's done them. So you need to watch for those. If you haven't seen him, he's done a really good job with that. Adam, you got some employees you want to introduce?
No, I didn't bring any with me tonight, but you know where to find us to come and see us and thank them in person. I couldn't do my job without them. So.
Okay, what are you going to do when plants come in?
Plants? What's that? I still have this lady sitting next to me. Carol's going to come back in a few more weeks and help us out with plants and get that all set up. So.
Okay, we're going to bring Carol out of retirement to help with the plants. That's a good deal.
I didn't have to twist her arm too much.
Yeah.
She does a great job, so we can't thank her enough.
Okay. Well, thank you, Adam. We got Beverly Means. She's the location manager out at Buffalo. And stand up, Beverly. Do you have any employees here tonight? You didn't. Nobody would have anything. Okay, Beverly has. I think Zach was out at her place today, and he verified that she's done a little bit of remodeling over there, and the desk looked good. She's got some new carpet. If you've been over at Buffalo in the last year or two, you would, well, it's Zach that got the new carpet bought for us because it was a trip hazard. So it was pretty bad, but she's been doing some remodeling. She's adding some hardware items over there. We're running out of places to shop in Buffalo, and so she's picking up the slack. And people in Buffalo seem to be very appreciative of that. And so she's got a new venture in that paint that she's going to be doing, and so she's pretty excited about that. If you want to know how excited she is, just ask her tonight. She'll tell you. If enthusiasm sells, we're going to sell a lot. So we're looking forward to that. Kevin Pingleton, where are you? There he is. Kevin Pingleton is manager at the Ampride Tire and Auto Service Center, and we're glad to have Kevin with us. Have you got any employees here?
I do not. They must be with that.
Okay, all right. Kevin's been there a little over a year now, and we've got a really good crew. You might even keep watching Facebook. Kevin's been making an entry in there. He couldn't stand Adam getting all those hits on that Facebook, so he's gotten into it. And Amy's been working with these guys and doing the Facebook presentations, and we think it's going over real well. We would like for you to tune in and give us your comments on them as well. We appreciate Kevin for what he does up there. He's got a new toy. He got a new tire machine to fix truck flats stuff. He showed it to some of the board members today, and I think he's pretty excited about that. Not as excited as Beverly is about paint, but he's pretty excited to have something that's going to help their backs. Zach didn't get this bought for him, but it's something that we had in mind that Zach would like seeing us get for safety purposes. So we're glad to have that. We thank you, Kevin, for what you do at the Tire Center. Thank you a lot. Now the men that carry on the vision and with the responsibility of working as a unit to provide leadership for this co-op, they have good discussions on issues and projects that are not always easy, but they work hard to have the decisions become one voice when they leave the boardroom. They're great to work with and for. And I thank each one of them for the time and effort they put in. I want to introduce you now Randy Swertfigger, President of the Board. You'll hear more from him later. Tim Ohm is the Vice President of the Board this year. Kenneth Waugh is Secretary of the Board. Jared Bates is Director. Randy Buckholz. Daryl. One of you guys stand up. Daryl Buckholz is
Brother Daryl.
Yeah, that's my other brother. Is a director, and then Clinton Nicelonger is our associate director. And this board has done a super job. They most of them got to go to the co-bank meeting this last week and get a little training and learn a little bit more about leadership, and they do a lot there. We've got a program that the Co-op Council started a couple of years ago that we're sending Kevin to this year to get some management training in there. And Randy's well enough known within the industry that he sat on the board, on a panel for that group. So he does a good job. He's well known within the co-op system, and we're certainly glad to have well-trained directors like we have, and we appreciate what they do for us. Thank you, guys. I believe that this group of employees and your directors have weathered the challenges of 2018, providing the consistent, excellent services that our members and customers have come to expect from the Farmers Cooperative Association. We've been with you in the challenging years and even the more fruitful years. Your cooperative shared vision of the past was mentioned the last couple of years as we came into the second century, and that was by working together, cooperating, we can accomplish more than we can individually. And we have a mission statement that's behind me right there that we work on and think about often. And it says, to be the preferred supplier of high-quality services, products, and timely information enabling the patrons and the cooperative to be successful. That's what our decisions are based on. We certainly appreciate this group of guys and this group of employees for keeping that mission statement in mind. And, the past continues to encourage us to look to the future in a bold way, knowing that we will have droughts and untimely freezes thrown in with the recent rains and fires and high winds that we've done. But we always move forward, and we plan for the future to be able to improve efficiencies and take advantage of the technologies that change our world on a daily basis. And I thank you members that have shown an interest in the governance of this cooperative. Your presence here tonight is evident of that. It means a lot to the directors and the employees as well to have all of you here and take part in your cooperative. And your voice is important, and this is where you get to voice it, and it makes a difference. And I want to thank you for your business and the encouragement you all give us. And we ask you to help us make the 102nd year of your cooperative the most successful yet. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to Randy again.
Ronnie, I'd like to, for the board and I, we appreciate you and everything that your team does for us. Let's give everybody a big applause. Okay, at this time we'll have the election of directors. And because I'll be the one being elected, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the vice president.
All right, I would like to ask Elwin Hofen if he has any nominations from the nominating committee for the seat that's available.
Nominating committee has nominated Randy Sweatfair.
Thank you. Is there any nominations from the floor? Is there any nominations from the floor? Is there any nominations from the floor?
President, I move nomination cease.
It has been moved and seconded. The nomination cease. All those in favor? Show of voting cards. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Randy, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Well, I didn't get to sit down very long, did I?
You know where you're at?
Not really. Okay. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Yeah. At this time, we're going to have to open up the floor for the nominating committee. You know, it's a 3-person committee. You serve on it for 3 years, and as your third year comes up, you're the chairman of that nominating committee. So Ellen's going to go off, so now we need somebody to replace him. And I know everybody's going to jump at this, so I'm ready. Yeah, Clay Bozine is on there with Ronnie Rucker. Rodney. Yeah. Those are the 2 that's on there now. And Rodney will be the chairman for next year. Clay will be in his 2nd year, and we need to replace. So I will open it up right now for a nomination to the nominating committee.
I tell them we can't go home until we get one.
Well, next year, we're going to do this first. Then we'll eat. Everybody's jumping up. So I guess you're going to give us the right to just find somebody. It's your co-op, folks. I'm just trying to do it the right way. So, is that okay if we appoint anybody? Jim? Dan? Are you getting nervous, Dan? Jim just gave me the right. Okay, if it's okay, we're through the next course of next month or 2, we're going to try to find somebody that will sit on. So now's the time for you guys to say something. I wish you would. But, okay, all right, we're going to move on. Okay, is there any old business? Okay, is there any new business? Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. We appreciate you. You know, this is your business. So,
Take the flowers.
okay, if you're interested in the flower sitting there, no fighting, but you can have them. So, again, thank you for coming and appreciate your membership. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Is there a second? So moved, all in favor? Meeting's over with, thank you.